Hello everyone, welcome to World of Work. I'm Chelsea and I'll be your facilitator today. I'd encourage you to get out some paper and something to write with while you follow along with today's video. And you can even pause or rewind whenever you want to make sure you get all the information. If you have any questions throughout, please feel free to leave a comment below and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. Today we're going to be covering 4 main topics, which are workplace expectations, time management, resilience, and adaptability. All 4 of these topics are extremely useful to understand so that you'll be as successful as possible at work. Okay, let's start off with part 1, workplace expectations. Workplace expectations can really be best understood through a workplace's culture. The culture of a workplace is the unique character or personality of your workplace. It's made up of things like values and beliefs, traditions, interactions, attitudes, and expectations. The culture of a workplace always varies from place to place. It's not common for more than one workplace to have the exact same culture, so it's important that you look into the culture of your specific workplace. You can do this by visiting the company, researching online or through social media, talking to someone who works at the company or in that field, etc. Although workplace cultures differ from place to place, today we'll talk about some expectations that are generally held by most workplaces. A big one is attendance and reliability. Employers expect staff to be at work regularly, which would mean having good attendance, otherwise work does not get done as efficiently. Employers also want to know that their staff is reliable, which means they come to work every day on time. Punctuality is a huge part of showing that you take your role seriously and are willing to put in the effort to be there to get the job done. Companies will have different policies for missing work, so it's important to look into your company's policy to make sure you're following the expectations, especially during your training or your probationary period, which might be more strict than usual. Also important to remember is to make sure you call ahead of time and speak to someone over the phone if you're ever going to be late or absent. It's always best to give as much notice as possible. When calling in to work, it's important to remember that you should only call if there's a valid reason that you'll need to miss. Otherwise, it's just an excuse to avoid going to work and is not considered appropriate by the workplace. So I'm going to show you a list of statements that are often given when employees call into work. The bolded statements are actual reasons for needing to miss work. The red statements indicate statements that can be seen as either a reason or an excuse, depending on the situation. And so then that means that everything else is just an excuse. Okay, so let's go through the list. Firstly, I'm sick. That one's in red. This is because it really depends on how sick you are. If you just have a little cough and some sniffles, usually your workplace will still expect you to be at work. But if you're extremely sick, you can barely move, that would be a reason to stay home. I'm tired is an excuse because you can avoid it by prioritizing your time better to get more sleep. My bus was late is not a reason to not come into work. Get there as fast as you can and plan ahead to take the earlier bus just in case. My kids are sick is another in-between one because again, it depends how sick. And it also depends on how last minute you're able to get childcare. That being said, hopefully you would think ahead and have childcare in place for situations like that. Having to pick up someone from the airport would not be a good reason because someone else should do it instead. It's not your responsibility to pick the people up if you have work. My pets are sick should, again, be handled by someone else or when you get home, unless, of course, it's an emergency situation. Having a family emergency is one that is a reason to miss work because it's unavoidable and you'll probably need to be in attendance. I don't have energy is another excuse though, because again, you need to plan ahead by getting enough sleep to be able to do your job effectively. There was a car accident on the way to work is no reason to miss work, unless of course you were part of the accident. Another valid reason to miss is if there's a death in the family. In that case, it is acceptable to take some time off accordingly. Being scared of work and also being stressed would be considered excuses, because in that situation you would need to reflect on what's making you fearful or stressed and then possibly talk to your employer or someone about it to work through it. Having an appointment is the last in-between one, because on one hand, sometimes you need to schedule appointments during work times, but on the other hand, you should always ask if there's a later time. Don't assume that the time they give you is the only time they have. It's okay to ask for a different time if it conflicts with your work schedule. Finally, being uncomfortable in the work environment would again be an excuse that you can work through with your employer to make sure you're coming to work every day feeling comfortable and confident in your role rather than avoiding it. Sometimes at work you will need to take time off. Depending on your workplace, it may even be mandated that you take time off once in a while to get a break, or you might have big plans in the future that you need to take some time off work for. It's really important to remember that you need to ask permission to take time off. You never want to just tell your employer that you need time off. They need to grant you permission to go. This shows your employer that you can follow instructions, like would be outlined in the time off policy. It also keeps the company informed and prepared for your absence if someone needs to cover your tasks. Depending on your place of work, you may still be paid during your vacation time, so HR and payroll would need to be informed to make sure that that happens. And of course, it's good to take a break once in a while. So when you ask for time off, you should include the dates and reason why you'll be away. You should also try to include the name of anyone who will be covering your job while you're away. That way the manager doesn't have to find someone for you in their busy schedule. And how or if you can be contacted while you're away through calling, email, things like that. You can maximize your chances of getting your time off approved by asking as early as possible, using professional language, taking time off when it's not as busy at your work, not making plans until after you get the time off approved so that it's not as urgent of a request, and so that you can show that you are respecting the time off request policies. And make sure to put it in writing or an email. Remember that if you only verbally tell your employer, they're much more likely to forget. All right, so let's move on to part 2, time management. Firstly, a great way to manage your time effectively is to set goals. But you don't want to set just any goals. It's good to give your goals a structure by making them SMART. So SMART is an acronym that can be broken down so that we can see the best components of a good goal. You want to make sure your goal is specific and includes details and descriptions. Then you want to make sure the goal is measurable, which means you can answer questions about it, like how much are you going to do, how often, etc. You also want to make sure your goal is achievable or possible to complete. Your goal should also be relevant, meaning it is something that will make a difference in your own life, either personally or professionally. And finally, you want to consider if your goal is timely, which means it has a clear deadline. Once you form your SMART goal, it can also include specific actions that you're going to take to achieve it. For example, a SMART goal might be something like, I want to complete all the online videos for my OFE classes by the end of this week. Then the specific actions that you'll take to achieve that goal might be to take the time each night to watch a video, take notes as you watch, and ask questions in the comments if necessary. That goal has specific details. It's measurable because you know how many videos you'll need to watch. It's achievable because it's possible to watch all of the course videos in 1 week. It's relevant to you because it will help you learn. And it's timely because your deadline is the end of the week. Then you've included actions that you can take to break the goal down into simple, achievable parts and make sure you stick to it and get it done. So now you can make your own SMART goals using this same template. Finally, a big part of time management is working efficiently. Skills that can help us with this are working quickly while not sacrificing quality in our work, prioritizing tasks and getting the most important ones done first, multitasking if you can, staying organized by coordinating tasks and delegating or assigning tasks, again, if you can, limiting distractions around you to enhance your focus, looking for ways to always improve so that you can work faster each time, ask questions or ask for help so that you can do it correctly quicker, take short breaks if you can to avoid burnout, and work towards consistency so that your work is the same all the time. All right, so part 3 is all about resilience. So let's first talk about stress, because this is a big part of why we need resilience. So, what is stress? Stress can be defined as a state of mental tension and worry caused by problems in your life, work, etc. It can also be thought of as something that causes strong feelings of worry or anxiety, or in general, a physical force or pressure. We can really imagine stress pushing on us and weighing us down sometimes, and it can feel like things are out of control. However, there are actually some benefits to having some stress. As long as it's in small amounts and doesn't overwhelm us, stress can help us to focus. It can improve our reflexes, sharpen our senses, help our brain handle stressful situations, and help us to become more resilient. Okay. So speaking of which, let's talk now about that idea of resilience, now that we see its connection to helping us process and understand stress. So resilience is the process of adapting well in the face of challenges, such as family and relationship problems, serious health problems, or workplace and financial stressors. It's our ability to bounce back from difficult experiences. Okay, so on the screen here, you can see a thought, emotion, and behavior cycle. So we can think of this cycle as a good representation for why resilience is so important. Our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors all affect each other, and so we need to try to control if this is a positive or a negative effect. If we're thinking, emoting, and behaving in a way that causes stress, then we'll become overwhelmed. But if we try to have positive thoughts, we act in positive ways, and we release our emotions through positive outlets, we can see that stress is lessened and turn into a good thing through resilience. All right, some ways that we can improve our ability to handle stress and become more resilient might include going for a walk, taking deep breaths, and reflecting on other points of view. I'd highly recommend that you brainstorm ways that work best for you to handle stressful situations in a positive way, because everyone is different. Our last part that we'll be covering today is adaptability. Okay, so to better understand what is meant by adaptable, let's look at some words that mean the same or similar. To be adaptable can be thought of as being flexible, versatile, resilient, there's that word again, moldable, or adjustable. It's really a great skill to have in the workplace overall. So then, why is adaptability so important for work? Firstly, you can make improvements and try new methods or equipment rather than being stuck in the old ways of doing things. You can understand that different people do things in different ways, so you can adapt to fit the method that's best for the people you're collaborating with. There will be high and low demand times usually, so it's good if you're able to be flexible and adapt to what the company needs during different times of the year. You'll also encounter unexpected situations, which, if you're adaptable, you'll be better equipped to handle. And of course, it's impossible to predict everything. So if you expect the unexpected and are ready to go with the flow and move whichever direction you need, you'll be more successful at navigating through difficult situations and changes at your job. All right, so before we end, let's go through some ways that you can show adaptability. First, being able to come up with new solutions to problems. Even if you think there's already solutions in place, it's always good to have options. You can also show adaptability by accepting surprises, new roles, and new responsibilities as they come. So reacting in a positive way and being willing to see those new challenges as a good thing. This will show that you're calm and confident in your role, which indicates to your employer that you can handle new situations well. Not resisting change, but rather welcoming it as a new challenge. Be flexible with the needs of your workplace. Learn from your mistakes. If you make a mistake, take the time to reflect on it so that you can do things differently next time. Ask for help, which shows that you are welcoming of other people's ideas and perspectives. And finally, trying new things to broaden your horizons. So let's end off with a quick summary of all the topics that we covered today. We started off by talking about workplace culture, which can vary from place to place, but in general, punctuality and reliability are always important. Next, we talked about how time management contributes to our success and how we can set smart goals and work efficiently to achieve this. We then went on to talk about resilience and how stress can be a negative thing, but can also be positive if it's in small quantities, and as long as we practice resilience to overcome overwhelming stress. And lastly, we talked about how being adaptable allows you to make improvements, try new things, and deal with unexpected situations. And that's all for today in World of Work. I hope you found this workshop beneficial to you, and remember to leave comments with any questions down below. Also be sure to check out any of our other workshop videos we've posted. Thanks so much for being here with me today, everyone. Have a wonderful day.